I'm delighted to be joining you at the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs Annual Conference. I want to thank the network for organizing this event and for their work in spurring local entrepreneurship in developing economies. Supporting small and growing businesses in local economies is critical to lifting communities and countries out of poverty. These businesses require assistance at various levels, including financial assistance, education and training, and business support. This network is an example of the support that is required on ground if we are to achieve SDG 7 goals by 2030. There is a clear link between achieving universal access of energy and developing and growing entrepreneurship in emerging economies and developing countries. Building this way goes a long way in supporting our larger ambitions in battling the climate crisis and achieving net zero by 2050. We saw during the pandemic, when big businesses and organizations had to shut down, that it was local players that stayed and helped communities cope with crisis. It's the local businesses that went above and beyond to support their villages and their districts with delivering of supplies and other essentials. Local businesses and entrepreneurs also play a key role in bridging the energy access gap, but need the instruments directed to them. These aren't companies that can go around and raise Series A, B, C, and D, especially during COVID times. Overall, the funding needed needs to be significantly increased. Of course, we need all players, both local and international. But what COVID has shown us is that local players who stayed back and came up with innovative ways to support communities, like coming up with voucher schemes and implementing services like powering healthcare during the crisis, are the ones we really need to back. But we need to do more of this. We need more local entrepreneurs to receive financial backing and regulatory support to grow their businesses, because they're the ones who eventually give back to the communities. Adequate and accessible funding is critical to realizing these energy and energy sector entrepreneurs. When it comes to energy finance, there just isn't enough. We realize that the 20 highest impact countries receive about 43.6 billion in energy finance, and only 4 billion of this actually goes into Africa. And more importantly, 3.3 billion goes into the African renewable space. And what is more worrying is when we talk about clean cooking, where it's much less money going in. We know that undoubtedly, just for Africa alone, we need over 30 billion a year. And most of this can be supported by funding local entrepreneurs to provide decentralized energy solutions. Access to clean energy also translates into economic growth, better outcomes in healthcare and in education, and also job creation. You can create 3.5 times more jobs using renewables than the fossil equivalent. And in terms of GDP, for every dollar spent on clean energy, you get back 0.93 cents. At the UN High-Level Dialogue on Energy in September, we're talking about speed and scale. And we've already also created a critical platform known as Energy Compacts, which we're capturing ambitious commitments from governments, companies, international organizations, financial institutions, and many more stakeholders. These energy compacts specific to energy and backed up with concrete actions are voluntary, public, and trackable, and hold everybody to our common goal of achieving SDG 7 by 2030. We cannot separate the conversation around economic development from the energy and climate conversation. And we cannot go on speaking about minimum levels of access for developing countries. We need to allow for growth in order to achieve developing countries the impact they actually need. And these need to be the right tools, technologies, and more importantly, like I said many times in this conversation, funding. Once again, I'd like to congratulate this network for the tremendous work they have been doing and continue to do in the area of building a network of key players to support small and growing businesses that ultimately produce environmental and social benefits.